Hello and welcome to the Gambling Files. This is this might be the 217th episode, I think. So it's the podcast that's been around for 217. No, it's not no. This is 219. Not including Christmas specials or things like that. We should do Christmas specials. But you may notice, the eagle-eyed amongst you, the eagle-eared won't have noticed it yet, but that no Finton this episode. And there's a good reason for that. Finton is away on an executive break. Some people, I think, call that a holiday. And so we have a stand-in co-host of similarly lofty social standing, certainly. Mr. Frequent guest on the podcast, Mr. Harry Lang. Harry, hello.
Hi, John. Yeah, I'm sorry to listeners and viewers who are expecting to have the gorgeously behared Finton, and you got me instead. While I'm assuming he's doing something around the Lions tour, or is he not a rugby man? Is he just going to Australia because he likes barbecues and sharks?
But his wife's Australian.
Ah, I did not know that.
Yeah.
That makes much more sense. Although the Lions are playing, and if I was there with an Australian wife, I'd probably be watching some rugby at the same time as seeing extended family.
Well, sports tourism is a thing, isn't it?
It's a massive thing. It's a huge business. I was having a gaze the other day because I was thinking about possible 80th birthday presents for my dad, because that's coming up fairly soon. And he likes his rugby, and I sent him to Twickenham for one of the World Cups ages ago, like 2015. So I thought, let's look up, maybe it'd be a good one. We all go as a family and get luxury VIP for a Six Nations game, and then we can sort of all hang out together. Now we're not doing that anymore because it's about £17,000 to be fed what I assume is second-rate hospitality food and pissy lager in a box with some seats next to it for 10 people. So it's now on £2,000 a head, and I think you get to have like a meet and greet with a former England rugby player, although that's TBC. So you could get Jason Robinson or Johnny Wilkinson, or you could get somebody who came on as a sub in a friendly against Belgium in 1977. So yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. But yeah, I mean, tourism in sports events is huge. I mean, look at the current cricket. Got Lord's Ashes games coming up in Australia. People go out and do the whole lot, which is what I'll do one day when I finally make some real money. I'll go out to New Zealand and watch a Lions tour back to back. That's my dream.
Well, we had one of my old school friends on an episode. It was a sort of a real step aside episode because I'd mentioned him so often. Finton didn't believe he was real. And so I got him on. Now his mum lives in it's an adapted school. It was an old schoolhouse out in the sticks, a place called Eton, middle of fucking nowhere. And I know this because I've walked there. It's quite far. And
what part of the world, by the way, is this?
That is South Shropshire.
Right. Okay. So really, it's the middle of nowhere in the middle of nowhere.
Yes, it's the middle of the middle.
Ah.
And if anybody that knows the area, it's on the Bridge North Road going from Ludlow, just past Wheat Hill.
I know the Bridge North Road going from Ludlow because my wife grew up in Claverley, which isn't a million miles away from there. And
it's not.
Isn't Iron Bridge in that part of the world as well?
Yeah, well, Iron Bridge is North Shropshire, towards Telford.
Ah, right. Sorry, I'm mixing up my Shropshires. I like.
Yeah, that's the part where the resources are.
I went to Telford to a party once because there was a conference centre owned by the host of the party. It's a better party than it sounds. I framed it poorly, but Telford itself, it reminded me of my near hometown of Basingstoke a little bit.
Yeah, Telford's pretty shit.
Interestingly, I didn't say that. I just said it reminded me of Basingstoke. I don't want to offend anyone on my one and only episode appearance.
I know. Telford is shit. I know a few police in the areas. I went to school with some of them. Police, and they have confirmed my thoughts that basically, if you took Telford out of the county's crime statistics. Shropshire Pure is crime free.
Really? Is it one of those ones like? Is it? It's normally at the end of the line you have these big social problems. Like I did a study at university, oddly enough, and it was this big thing about sort of crime statistics and correlated to drug use. And it's always the stations at the end of the line. You get the London stations, obviously, so around King's Cross and around Waterloo, and then you get the bits down towards Brighton, then you get the bits down towards the end of Cornwall. It's nice. They've got significantly upper indexing on intravenous drug abuse, and then the crime associated. And it's as simple as people who are running away from stuff trying to get to somewhere else, but doesn't matter where. They get to the end of the line and they get off and they've got no friends there or no family there, and they just stop around the station. And I wonder if Telford's got some sort of station-based
No,
socio-cultural reason.
but statistically, the reason would be as simple as it's the only big place in Shropshire. It's the greatest concentration of people by some distance.
Now, I would love to know, because I'm having a stab, that there's probably 2 clubs in Telford. One of them, at some point in the last 30 years, would have been a ritzy, and the other one would have had quite a sort of fantastical name that would have suggested actually a good night out, but clearly wasn't going to be. I'd like to know what the Telford clubs are called, because I think they're going to be like pinnacle club naming things.
Oh, I think there's almost certainly one called Mr. Glowcox.
Mr. Glowcox. God, that's
But I mean,
made my fucking week.
I might, Harry, I should warn you, I might be making that up completely.
I'm allowed to Google while we're live.
Yeah, we do that all the time. It's what we call thinking.
So, okay, 757 nightclub and La Luna events venue. La Luna, the moon.
That does sound pretty classy.
Yeah, quite clever. The 3 furnaces, which might be this week's winner, because it's on.
I bet that's by the power station.
Could be. And then Main Street nightclub, but that's in Newport. I feel
Newport's not that close.
No, so you have got in Telford 2 clubs. You've got 757 nightclub and La Luna events venue, and the 3 furnaces. And I don't think I've ever been as right about something in modern history. I'm delighted.
Listen, we got sidetracked here. So she lives in an adapted schoolhouse, really old building, and honestly, this house is freezing. It's like ice on the inside in winter. It's unbelievably cold because it's got it's got like 2 foot thick walls.
Yeah.
It's an old building for what the weather used to be like in the UK and still is occasionally. And it costs a fortune to heat. And being where they are, it's all oil. And I bumped into her in the street one spring and I'm like, "You're looking well." And she said, "Yeah, I just got back." I'm like, "Got back from where?" She said, "Oh, I've been traveling all winter." She said, "I realized that the amount that I spend on oil every year, I could just spend it on following the English cricket tour."
That's fantastic. I love that so very, very much. So she had a wonderful holiday, switched her house off, let it go Baltic, and just pootled around some sunny climes drinking cocktails, and that was net even financially. I think there's a
lesson for us all in there.
Absolutely. I think similarly, there are a lot of people who now go on these cruises, and they're sort of like the sort of 5 weeks, but like not like 5 weeks around the Bahamas or anything fancy like that, or Disney cruises and Carnival Princess with slides and go-karts. They're just common or garden boats that just go around fjords or the Med or bits of Thailand. And it's effectively the same price living in the UK and going shopping as it is to go and sit on these cruises for 5 weeks. You eat for free, you drink for free, there's no heating bills, it's a laundry service, and you just take yourself out of the equation, and you just happen to do it on a boat. I think it says more about British society and our economy than anything else, really.
You see, I'd love to do that because I find boredom is absolutely vital for creativity.
Do you? I go the other way. I have to be doing something else with some sort of problem stuck there, and then while I'm doing something else, then normally that problem gets at least partially solved. And then I hurry back and I start typing furiously. But I'm not one to sit there and meditate. So I find my rather tiny mind strays off in the wrong directions.
But I used to find running was great for it, and it's the monotony of the movement. But the longer the run, the more ideas and the better quality ideas I would have when I got back.
Fair enough. I said that because actually on my old bike rides, when I did bike ride a fair bit, mostly in lockdown, but I felt like that was doing something because I was admiring views and I'd bike down the riverside in London. I had my music on, obviously only when I was on the riverside, not on the road. And I did find I'd come back from those or I'd stop off on the way and I'd do like voice notes because things would pop up. But I think that's because I was doing sort of three things and enjoying that. And then, so I could see running being quite a good one for that too.
Have you noticed how many cyclists are cycling with headphones or earphones in, and how many drivers have full headphones on?
Yeah, which I don't understand the driver one because these cars, most decent cars have Bang & Olufsen sound systems these days. Your sound quality should be good.
Harry, we're not buying the same kind of cars, I promise you.
No, don't worry. My current car doesn't have Bang & Olufsen. It has what sounds like a mouse banging drums in the door. That's what it sounds like. On the cyclist front, though, I shouldn't worry because people who cycle on roads and wear headphones, I think there'll be incrementally fewer of them over the years as they don't hear giant trucks and get squashed. So that's probably a diminishing problem.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. But it is just monumentally dumb.
It's very, very dumb. I mean,
I think they get really tetchy if you point it out to them.
No, cyclists get tetchy anyway. I think there's something in it, and I think it must be potentially linked to the tightness of the lycra around their balls. For males,
I own a bicycle.
It looks upsettingly tight, as in this is probably doing something masochistically painful to your lower regions. And that's why you get so feisty, because you've got those people who now film themselves, and you can tell, because there's a lot of it on sort of YouTube and TikTok and whatnot, you can tell that whilst they're enjoying their £5,000 carbon fibre bicycle and enjoying the lack of joy they get everywhere else in life, what really is going to tickle their plums is somebody coming too close to them in a car, because that's what they're waiting for. They are dying to leap off their bike and hurl abuse at a car driver. That's really...
You should be 1.5 meters away.
Yeah, exactly. You could have killed me. And it's like, well, you're clearly on an A road on a bicycle in the countryside. Why didn't you go a kilometre that way to those lovely little C roads and enjoy the view? But no, you want to go high speed. So you get strong.
Where I used to live, there was it was kind of like a blind bend with a summit, and a completely blind summit. So you come up and there's a hotel on the right, and a road sort of swoops around to the left. And I came up behind these cyclists who were struggling, and I stuck the car into second, and then I stuck the car into first, and I just stuck behind them because I wasn't about to pass them on a bend with a blind summit.
Yes.
Because that would be suicidal. Especially as I lived just off that road, and I know exactly how people drive down there. And the guy at the back actually stopped and angrily shouted at me to go round them. And I'm like, fuck off. You fucking go round, you fucking dickhead. No. Just fucking cycle. Just move the pedals.
Did you, as you were passing, being sworn at, did you point out that if he was struggling and he was overweight for his bike, he could have a smaller hill just down the road that he might better manage, like a child-sized hill? I just a good suitable diss.
I just stuck with telling him to fuck off.
Well, that's probably fair.
Oh, what a fucking twat, though.
That's all right. If he's doing that, he's probably not around anymore either.
Here's the other thing, right? People that cycle for fitness, that blows my mind a little bit. Because it's a relatively efficient way of traveling. It's like you could do much harder things for a much shorter time, or things that are relatively similarly difficult, get a better cardio workout more efficiently. I mean, running. 20 minutes of running is the same as about an hour and a half of cycling.
Yeah, it's not an hour and a half, but I'll give you that it is more efficient and ergo less good for you per minute. However,
the hour and a half thing depends how quick you're cycling. It depends what your heart rate is doing, because an awful lot of people cycle easily because it's easy to do an efficient cycle.
There is a counter argument, especially for people of our vintage, which is it's less impact. Because the number of running friends I have who now have chronic knee problems and whinge about it, you don't get chronic knee problems on bicycles because it's low impact. So you can do it, and you can do it well into your later years, and you're not going to sit there and have chiropractic bills coming out your nose.
However,
I want to be skiing in retirement, and so
it
cycling would be
depends.
better.
It depends if you get hit by any cars, because that's also bad for your knees, and I can
Also bad for
definitely
knees.
vouch for that one. But listen, here's the thing with running, right? Two things, really. One, a lot of people neglect actually exercising muscle groups that running doesn't do anything to. And some of those are for stability around the knees. Because running is forwards and backwards. That's it. The muscles around the knees don't do anything apart from stabilize the knee, and that does nothing for them. So, it needs if you're going to run into your later years, you need to have an holistic approach to it.
Right.
But number two, and this is quite important, you don't necessarily know that they wouldn't have had those issues if they had never run.
Oh yeah, but now we're going down a sort of Pandora's.
You can't outrun genes. And I think the benefit from running is greater than the potential drawbacks of running. I mean, I say that as somebody who can't do it at the moment and might not be able to do it again. I'm going to find out in the next 6 months, probably.
This isn't a position of strength for someone fighting the good fight for running being good for you. But...
Well, my problems actually result from carrying my disabled daughter up and down the stairs.
Oh, so they're more back related?
It's actually hamstring related.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, right. But then hamstring related could be in your back besides sciatica for
it has a knock on, of course, because the hamstrings, when they're weak, they pull on the glutes, and what do the glutes pull on?
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
So it's all related, and there's plenty of pain in that.
Reformer Pilates.
That sounds like the kind of thing you would find in a city.
No, it's not necessarily. I do Reformer Pilates with my friend Kerry in her studio down the road in the Cotswolds. And it's the one that looks very scary for novices because it's got a machine with springs on it and it looks a bit like some sex dungeon gone wrong. But it's really, really good. It's really, really good. So it's Pilates, but with resistance. So you use your legs, you use your arms, you use your shoulders, you use your back. And you just do all these different exercises and it just pulls and just gives resistance and stretches the muscles out. And my back has been in good nick since I started doing it. And I think it's a good MOT thing. So if you've got this hamstring problem, I would suggest giving it a go and being open-minded about it.
I might do. But I should just stress while we're recording, we haven't actually mentioned gambling yet.
No, we haven't. No, we rarely do on our chats, though. We should do that because of the title of the podcast.
Well, so your background. Well, no, let's start with something here because people might know you from LinkedIn, and on LinkedIn, if you're familiar with Harry's content, a lot of it's about has Harry got a job yet?
Yeah. Well, it certainly has been this year, definitely.
Have you got a job yet?
Not quite. Not quite.
Irons in the
I've been
fire.
3 weeks after I had 5 rounds of interviews for a particular position, and I've been waiting now 2.5, coming on 3 weeks, because they're making a decision, a very long, drawn-out one. So I meant to find out on Friday, but then it was meant to be last Friday, and then the Wednesday before, and the Monday before that. So you get to a certain point when you don't hold your breath, lest you pass out. So there might be some interesting news, but there might not be. We'll have to see.
Yeah, well, I'm worried that you've become, what's the word, institutionalized to a life of leisure.
Yeah, do you know what? It's really nice. I mean, it hasn't been entirely leisure. I've got the consultancy business, so I've been sort of ticking over with Grand Architects. Although that's been a struggle as well. A lot of yeses that end up being no's several months later. It's a very tough market for everyone, I think, but marketers in particular, I think, are finding it very hard, both on the permanent and consultancy side. But it has allowed me to, spend time with my daughter and my wife and the dog and my new passion for metal detecting and writing more. I finished another book, so that was good.
Apart from the metal detector and the writing, though, and probably the dog, is everybody else a bit sick of you now? Or?
Mrs. Lang almost certainly is. Although I think I'm relatively useful. Like I wake up really early, so I do school run. I do my chores. I think I'm a sort of modern man in that respect. So I think me being around is net better than not having me around. It's probably a balance on some days, but I think I'm relatively useful. But she'd probably prefer to see a little bit less of me. I'll grant you that.
Okay.
But I'm enjoying it.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed for the job, if only for Mrs. Lang.
Yes, indeed.
We've got two things that we need to discuss before we press stop on this introduction to Harry C. Lang. Anybody that wants to know what the C stands for, that's in a previous episode.
God, don't tease them. It's Chaplin.
I know. Which is a family name.
It is. Good memory.
So, well, I need to mention our benevolent sponsors who make all of this so possible. We have, and this is where Finton's really good at doing the sponsor stuff. Yeah, and I'm terrible at it.
Cole, have you not written a song which sort of encapsulates the sponsor's brand ethics, product benefits, everything else in some sort of witty ode?
The thing is, some sponsors are up for that kind of thing. Some sponsors aren't. Like I remember when we had Sporting Tech, and they literally said, "Do whatever you like." Oh, I'm like, I said to them,
brief in equal measure.
I said to them, "You don't say that to me, don't." And they're like, "No, let's see what you do." I had a lot of fun with that. In fact, I've kept the recordings of the adverts that I made for them.
Did you shave their logo into your chest?
No, but that's actually a very decent idea.
I mean, that's the dark corners of my marketing brain, but it's that sort of stunt, gross out stuff that gets real clicks on TikTok. So, if you want to maximize their reach, you got to go into the weird places.
But I think I would be more inclined to do a trim and then wax. And I think to do that, we probably need sponsors with shorter names.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know that would be quite painful. Sporting Tech, it's quite a lot of wax.
We'd need something like SB Tech.
Well, maybe Finton, because he's quite an astute man. So maybe Finton could take Sporting, and you just have to deal with Tech. And if you get really weirded out, you could shorten it to the TEC version, and then you just got 3 letters. Let's do it.
Or just the T, because that's how we affectionately. But Sporting Tech, they're not sponsors anymore. So that's yeah.
Quite a lot of airspace for now.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no, fair enough. It's all about adding value. They might come back after this, or might not.
I wouldn't if I were them. But we are sponsored by 3 lovely businesses in the gambling space, all of whom are excelling in what they do. And I'm not saying that as bullshit, because we're actually a little bit picky about who we work with. We are sponsored as our partners. That's it. That's the fashionable way to say it, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Our partners are, in no particular order, the mighty Clarion Gaming, who just did IGB Live in London, which was a big success from everything I've heard. And they've got ICE Barcelona in 2026, January the 19th, I think it starts. 19th to 21st.
I reckon.
Yeah, which feels really early.
I reckon I was starting to go to Earl's Court in 2005, maybe 4. So the Earl's Court early days. 19? That must have been one of their first ones then.
Maybe. When it span out of ATEI, wasn't it?
That was it. 8. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, probably. I think my first one was probably 2005.
Might have seen you there.
It's possible.
I can get in a pub for most of it.
I might have had a dusting of hair then, but only a dusting.
That's it. That's why I didn't recognise you. Of course.
Yeah, it does happen to me. So Clarion Gaming, our official event sponsors,
Lovely.
And we have, as I say, no particular order. We have Odds Matrix, the company that seems to me to be getting more and more customers leaving their present sportsbook suppliers and jumping on board with them.
Is
They
that?
can
I
handle.
mean, I'm making an assumption, but I think I'm right. It's part of every Matrix group.
It
Odds
is, yeah,
Matrix, yeah. So
yeah,
there's Ebe Gross, is it?
yeah.
I've got a good story about Ebe actually. No, this is good for your sponsor. No,
Is this the time?
no, this is absolutely the time. He invited this is a very this is a good news story. Trust me, I know you're looking at horror. We went to, I think it was one of the events in Copenhagen. Can't remember what it was. And Ebe had an apartment there and invited us to go to a party in his apartment, which was a fantastic sort of penthouse thing, double story, overlooking the city. And we had the most wonderful time. It was a big sort of crowd of sort of friends and new friends and old in the industry. And he shipped in, I don't know how he got hold of it, but suddenly crates of champagne and beer and wine and whatever arrived. And he had a very nice sound system and everything. It got cranked up, and people sort of semi DJing using the sound system and plugging in tunes. And I was standing on the balcony, and I was just enjoying the view and thinking, isn't this a wonderful life we lead? And I looked down and I saw some flashing lights of a cop car, and I was like, oh, look, Danish police. One of them sort of super polite. It doesn't seem like a crime-filled city. I looked at them, two-piece cars, and then they come into the building we're in, and then they knock on the door because they've had noise complaints. And I actually had gone inside to tell Ebe that the police had come into the building because I suspected it might have been noise because the volume was cranked up pretty loud by now. And so I happened to be next to the door when the door was banged on, and I opened the door and was met by Denmark's finest, who were the most polite gentlemen I've ever met. And they came in, and Ebe was obviously there, and they said, yeah, it's too loud. And so he had the remote control, and he turned it down to a certain volume, which was still party volume. And they said, yeah, that sounds fine. And they turned around and left. And I thought it was one of the coolest bits of sort of policing management and people management I've ever seen. Because all they wanted was it to be down to acceptable so people could sleep down the road. And then they pootled off. No hassle, no harm. Anyway, so I told you it was a good news story, but it's stuck in my mind. It's a very fond memory.
I was wondering where that was going to go. Where there's going to be some kind of
Admit it, you were
cavity
terrified.
search. Well, I just suddenly realised how Finton must feel when I open my mouth.
Yeah, it's probably very similar, except he's had to do it 219 times. No, that's
218.
218 times. Apologies.
Ish, because he does have these holidays and his executive retreat. But it's important for busy executives to recharge these
Did
days.
you actually call it an executive retreat, or is that you with some sort of weird envy giving it a
That's
horrible title to make him look bad?
that's me. Yeah,
Yeah. Fair enough.
totally. So Odds Matrix doing their thing. Contact them, get the demo. That's the key. It's tremendous software. Odds Matrix is, as Harry points out, part of every matrix, and they've got a modular setup. So it's actually a really interesting company to be involved with because they've got everything for either for you to grow with or to supplement your business and make it even sexier. Because I'm not going to suggest that your business isn't already sexy. I'm going to just say it could maybe be sexier, and maybe Odds Matrix is the first step to that. I'm just going to leave that there. And finally, but certainly not least, we have Optimove, the iGaming industry's #1 CRM software provider. They're very, very nice people, very interesting, very, very data driven. And again, like every matrix, always innovating, always developing, always coming up with new stuff. The power of the software, the granularity, in the right hands, it's a stunning tool. And I know I was on the demo for this one. I missed the Odds Matrix demo, so I might have to get him to do that again. But I missed that one. But I was on the Optimove demo, and like Finton and I, after it, we were just like, holy crap! That's incredible.
I've
And
had it
if
twice.
you,
I've used Optimove twice, and what you said there about in the right hands is true, because it's telling how much more it can do than everyone initially assumes. Because it is
yeah, it's like
incredibly
Photoshop, isn't it?
powerful. Yeah, no, it's incredibly powerful, and it's simply a case of you need to invest in the training part. You need to get the right people and the right amount of time to just bed into it, because there's so much stuff that when you first get it, you're like, oh yeah, it's a CRM platform, manage database, RFM segmentation, send emails, job done. And it's not HubSpot. It's HubSpot fuel injected. And I'm not doing the sort of sales pitch, so I'm not being paid for the sponsor. But in my eyes, it's like the mothership, which comes at a price, but it is the gold standard. But you have to invest in getting all the best out of it, because it can do so much more than most people, I think.
Well, it's like people, like I said, it's like Photoshop in a way. Like you can open Photoshop and figure out how to resize your images and all of that jazz. You can figure out batch conversion and all that, and never go into the 99.9% of other stuff Photoshop. You can get these things, and you can do just the things you already know, or you can use them as a way to develop yourself and your business by learning how they work fully and thinking, how can we use this to make ourselves grow? And Optimove do come across, certainly to me, like they're a company that is very supportive of their customers.
Yeah.
Want them to grow, want them to use the software properly, use it well. And if you sign up using the link in the show notes, you get your first month free, which is very kind of them. And it's good for us because it means they might carry on sponsoring us. So everybody wins. So those are our sponsors. Now, Harry, this episode, we are joined by Jonathan Michaels of Michaels Strategies. Now, Jonathan, as I say, I think in the episode, I interviewed him for an article that I still haven't finished, actually. Although by the time this episode goes out, the article should have both been finished and published. Bear with me.
How messy.
But he's a consultant, so he's the founder and principal of Michaels Strategies, and he knows shitloads about the American industry, about payments, about bottlenecks, about issues. He knows about problems and stuff, and you and I, talk to him about all sorts, don't we?
We did indeed. He's a lovely man, and there's going to be a bit of an oddity for this one as well, because we're recording the intro, having done the podcast yesterday, which is sort of counterintuitive. But what it also means is between now and watching the podcast, I'm going to grow a 5-day beard, and that might confuse your listeners, or more viewers than listeners, if they're watching it.
You're really going to mess with people, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so. But I'm suddenly, I think, was I wearing the same jersey? That could be quite a good trick. It's like suddenly go into like Don Johnson, Miami Vice level stubble.
That would take me about a fortnight.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's some singular only skill I think I have is growing a fast beard, and I can't.
No, you see, it's a great skill. It's the kind of skill that other men look at and they go, I wish I could do that. I don't. I think I've always shaved infrequently, and so it just doesn't grow back very quickly. It's about a week's worth.
Is it?
Yeah, six days.
Yeah. Although these days, in the old days, you had to shave every day to go into offices and whatnot. In these days, you're allowed to get away with a bit of fashion stubble. Okay.
Plus, I work from home on my own.
There's that as well, which helps.
In my pants, which for American viewers, I mean undercrackers.
Still no clearer.
Meet Jonathan Michaels and Michaels Strategies. We talk about sweeps. We talk about all sorts. It's just a meandering conversation with a really interesting dude. So enjoy the episode. We welcome this week's guest, a gentleman who, I don't know whether it's me that's lucky or him that's lucky, but it's the second time I've spoken to him in just a few weeks. For him, it probably feels a little bit like Easter did for those founding Christians. We are joined by Jonathan Michaels, who is the, let me see if I can remember this right, founder and principal of Michael's Strategies.
Correct.
Fucking get in.
Well,
If
and
only.
the other good part too is we both spell our name the right way.
Yeah.
And not with that pesky H at the beginning.
You can't trust people that spell Jonathan with a H.
Oof.
Because you know that they've come from stupid parents.
Rewind. Did you just go H? You're from the UK, mate. It's H. AITCH. H. It doesn't start with an H for H. I've got to call that out.
Hang on. Are you saying that I said H wrong?
You said H. That's wrong. It's wrong and offensive. I mean, it's quite a few versions of wrong. H.
So H is wrong.
Yeah.
And H is right.
Yeah, we're 2 inches away from talking about herbs and you going down the oregano route, which Jonathan's allowed to do because he's from the States. But you're nudging into that mid-Atlantic territory. I'm sorry. I had to call it out.
Oh, man.
It's going to be a long hour for you, mate. This is where they regret asking me to co-host for 2 weeks while Finton's on holiday. I'm having fun already.
I wonder what my favorite cheese is. What is that cheese? And I forget how it's pronounced. Do you know the one I mean? Can you think of any cheeses, Jonathan?
I mean, listen, I'm a cheese connoisseur, so there's plenty of them.
What are some of your favorites?
I mean, there's a one called Humboldt Fog that Whole Foods has. It's
You're
delightful.
just making shit up now.
I mean, isn't that what lobbyists are supposed to do?
We will get to that quite soon because there has been some reports the last couple of days about lobbyists lobbying, but having a complete about turn on a previous opinion. But we will come to that quite shortly. Now, honestly, I can't think of the cheese that I'm trying to think of. But you said oregano.
Yeah.
And that reminded me, there is a cheese that Americans mangle the name of.
Oh, we'd have to listen. Last time I was on your podcast as a guest, we got into a massive cheese debate, which actually got a bit heated. I mean, it's not Gouda, because everyone's getting the same. It's not cheddar. Although the Americans, Jonathan, forgive me, the American version of cheddar is some weird bastardization. It's that flat stuff that goes on burgers, and it's soft for whatever reason. So cheddar should be hard, preferably crunchy. I don't know which one you're thinking of.
Have you ever had a Philly cheesesteak, Harry?
I have. Yeah, I mean that's basically lying on at least two fronts, maybe three, because the steak is like whatever the offshoot from like the bit near the tail of a cow that no one else really wants. That goes in, and then the cheese isn't really cheese.
Yeah, it's in a big keg and it's
arguably pumped. None of them ever come from Philadelphia, so I think it's a 3 for 3.
I had one in Philadelphia though.
Did you? Was it better?
No.
No.
But it was at least authentic.
Well, it was 1/3 authentic. So
yes.
Yeah.
Which, you know, if you've got a 1 in 3 chance of something, you'll think, yeah, I'll punt on that.
Well, it does depend what it is. Like 1 in 3 at the races, great. 1 in 3 of surviving a jump from a cliff, not so good.
1 in 3 chances of getting gonorrhea.
You always have to go dark early, don't you? I mean, I was just talking about jumping off cliffs, and then you took it down a notch.
I thought I was raising it back up. You were the one that brought suicide into it.
Who said it was suicide? It might be some cliff jumping. Gosh, it's suddenly gone to a very weird place.
Yeah, it has. I blame Jonathan Michaels of Michael's Strategies.
Yeah, poor Jonathan. We should get to the topic at hand, really, before I get us down even darker routes.
Jonathan, thank you very much for joining us. Much appreciated. So one of the things that we were talking a couple of weeks ago, because I was researching a feature that I'm writing for IGB about credit cards and credit card bans, and you gave me some fantastic information. It was really, really interesting, and I said, hey, would you mind coming on the podcast, because we like getting people on that sound like they know what they're talking about, and on occasions who really do know what they're talking about, not just sounding good. One quick question though, and this might sound like a daft one, but it does tie in with previous episodes that we've had. Do you own a watch?
Yes.
Is it a fancy watch?
It's a smartwatch. It's a Garmin. I don't like Apple watches. I think they look a bit douchey. I've told CEOs this before that have been wearing them. So it's like, so I have an iPhone, so it would sync normally, but then you have people that like talk into them and make it seem like, and you're like, come on, it's a watch. If you want a smartwatch that like, I use it for running, I use it for golf, tells me what steps, heart rate, things like that. Great, but I don't need like a James Bond watch.
Well, I mean, and James Bond, would he take a Walther PPK to his own head if he was caught dead wearing one of those Apple watches? Nothing says I'm not a classy, suave super spy less than an Apple watch. Whereas Garmin is, I assume it's a Phoenix or equivalent, Mike, Jonathan? Is it the Garmin Phoenix, or have you gone for the newer version?
Vivo Act. I mean, this I got right around COVID because I
Right.
realized I couldn't do anything else, so I may as well start running. And while I still hate running, I do it more frequently. Makes me feel good about myself. So it's been working for 5 years. So why mess
Nice.
with it?
And they do
That's
look
it.
like proper watches. I've looked at them in the past, and I think the Garmin and the Phoenix is the one I looked at, and they look like proper watches. And they do golf and skiing, which are the only two sports I really am any good at, or can, or want to do. So they're actually useful, as opposed to the one, the Apple Watch, which measures a billion things which its users will never do, and barely tells the time.
Garmin also do. They have a multi-sport option, so you can actually do triathlon training.
Do you do triathlon training with yours?
I did.
Did you?
Yes,
Right.
I did.
I didn't know that about you.
It all went horribly wrong.
Oh, no, go on. Spill the beans. What happened?
Very young children at the time, and other demands in life, and I didn't get in as much time on the bike in training as I would have liked. There was fuck, I forgot about this. There was also a wetsuit incident. So I ordered a wetsuit from this fantastic company based in Derby, in the UK. Really nice gear. And this wetsuit comes, and like I was a pretty fat fucker at the time. I was one of those people. I was very fit. I was very, very strong, and I was very, very fat. So I was running marathons and shit for fun. Very, very fat, and you have to drink a lot to maintain that kind of body mass. But I knuckled down and did it. But anyway, so this wetsuit comes, right? And I can't get into it. Like, it's not even close. And I've checked the sizing on the site, and like I've got the right size, and it is not even close. Like, I'm reasonably broad across the chest and the shoulders, but this is a wetsuit for triathlon. It's for open water swimming. They'll be made for people with shoulders and chests. And I'm like, I'm thinking, should I get a block of lard to grease into this? Am I doing something wrong? Should I get a shoehorn, a spatula, 3 other people? And like, I'm thinking, I must just be too fucking fat. And I'm talking to the company, and they're going, no, you got the right size for your measurements. I'm like, really though? But it's not even. And if I force myself into this, I'm just going to fucking rip it. No, it's the right size. Anyway, the Tri Club that I was a part of, they organised a gear night, and this company were there. So I went up to the rep and I said, really sorry to bother you. I bought this wetsuit. I can't get into the fucking thing. Am I insane, or is there something wrong here? And he just looks at it. He glances at the label. He goes, this is a women's suit. And I'm like, for fuck's sake. So I missed out on a good month of open water training as well.
I just hear excuses. That's really it.
And then the bike training went okay. I mean, I did like a 60-mile ride. I was only doing like a half iron, so it was a 56-mile bike. But so it was in North Norfolk, which is pretty flat. Or Norfolk is pretty flat. North Norfolk isn't that flat. Anyway. But I get there, and my undoing when I was a larger gentleman, sorry, Jonathan, for our American audience, a husky gentleman, Fat fucker. What my undoing was heat, basically. So I'd done a few marathons, and like you train all through winter for a spring marathon, right? And then, I did London twice. You get to the start line and it's like fucking 22 degrees. You've been training in -4. You get to London, it's 22 degrees. You're screwed. You're absolutely screwed. Because none of the nutrition stuff that you've been doing apply. You're going to drink in a different way. It's all disaster, right? So the day I'm doing this triathlon, it was late summer. It was about 28 degrees, and humid. I did the swim absolutely fine. I came out of the water with plenty of time to spare. I took my time, transition, get on the bike. Everybody, and I mean every single other person in the race, went past me on the bike leg. The only people that were behind me were people who'd had a mechanical breakdown or an injury. And the heat just killed me. I had absolutely nothing. And it's 56 miles. You can't rely on brute force for the whole thing. Had no technique, had no time on the bike. It went horribly wrong. So I got to the transition for the next bit, and the bloke's like, "You missed the cutoff." I'm like, "For fuck's sake." So the kids were there with my ex, and I went and found a quiet spot before I went to grab them, and I just thought about it, thought, it's okay, fine. Went to meet them. And it's turned out it was really good that I dropped out when I did, because I had sunburned so badly that my whole back was blistered and my arms were blistered. We're talking not far off first, second degree burns kind of blistering. And on the run leg, there was no cover at all. There was no shade. And I would have basically...
You would have been in a hospital.
Yeah. I probably would have, yeah. So it went really, really wrong. But here's the funny part of it, right? Even now, the light's got to be right. But I've still got the tan line from where I burned. And I did this race 2019.
Jesus.
I'm scarred from sunburn.
The sound of it.
But I mean, I keep thinking I'd like to go back and have another crack at it, because the race itself was absolute beauty, really nicely put together. Just needs proper training, and the kids are a bit older now, so might be possible.
Yeah.
Except my body's
well
fucked now.
Trying there, mate. That sounds like an ordeal.
Yeah, it was shit.
I was thinking maybe for the larger man, a lady's wetsuit it does at least allow room for the moobs. So there's that.
Yeah. I like to call them pecs.
What one would.
No, but a lot of gentlemen my age have what a friend of mine used to refer to as sausage tits. And
how is that better than moobs?
I don't have sausage tits. I do actually have some chest muscles. I don't want to brag here, because for all I know, you both got sausage tits.
I didn't even know what a sausage tit looks like. Jonathan?
Do you remember what a womble's nose looks like?
Yes.
A bit like that.
Right, okay. I mean, if there's a record for being the least turned on I've been in a decade, I think we hit it. There you go.
We're not here to arouse you. Don't objectify us just because we both spell our name the right way. Fucking hell. I'm not a sex object. I'm a man. I'm a person with feelings and thoughts and emotions, capable of writing poetry and painting art.
But not running a triathlon.
No, not completing a triathlon. Yeah.
I couldn't do a triathlon. It's the running bit. I find running bores the piss out of me. Cycling, fun. Swimming, kind of relaxing. Running, it's just a way to early arthritis. Anyone over the age of 14 who takes up running, you just may as well say, look, this is going to be good. You're going to feel great for about 4 weeks, and then your knees are going to start to go, and then you're going to age early. I'm convinced of this fact. And also, you see runners out in the street. I've never seen a runner that looks as if they're having fun. You see cyclists and they're smiling and chatting to each other in their lycra bodysuits.
So, like, at least here in the States, though, cyclists believe that they want to make sure every car knows that they can be on the streets with them, and they break every single traffic law. Stop
Yeah,
signs and red lights are mere suggestions.
yeah,
Yeah,
So
same
they
here.
just piss me off.
but no, cycling in London though. I used to cycle to work all the time. I loved it. The way to survive in London and probably any city on a cycle is to break all the laws. You get to
Yeah,
the
you
front
have
of the
to be
traffic,
insane.
you get away first. You never, and it's interesting actually. I read some research about deaths on bikes in London, and there was something like 17 deaths on average per year, which is quite a high number for one leisure pastime. And it was 16 out of 17 were female cyclists. And the long and short of the evidence research they brought back was it was because they followed the traffic laws, because they stopped where they were meant to stop. And basically, people don't die by falling off bicycles. And, you fall over on the road, you don't die. You break an arm, you scratch yourself and whatever. You die under the wheels of 18-wheel trucks. That's where people die because you get squished. And female cyclists stop where they're meant to stop on the inside of the road, and there's fences there and whatever. And then trucks turn left, and there's nowhere to go, and they go onto the wheels, and that's curtains. Cocky blokes, meanwhile, skipping to the front, don't ever go under wheels. They'll crash into cars, they'll hurt their egos and their noses and their arms, but there's less deaths that way. And I was convinced when I biked that there should be formal cycle training for people on bikes in London. Just not to protect the law, but to protect themselves and say, here's the safe way. Because on motorbikes, when you do motorbike training, which I did back in the day, they teach you how to get out of trouble. And it's not really about following the law. It says, if there's a car up there and there's a turning there, put your bike on the other side of the road, as far away from potential trouble as possible, because that's the safest place to be. And I was like, my hindsight, the other cars, that's where they're meant to go. He's like, no, ignore all that. Your job is to stay alive on a motorbike. So you go in the safest bit, because that car might easily turn into you and not see you. And I always thought that training was very pragmatic. I do think cyclists should get the same level of training to go, here's how people tend to die. So don't go there, do this, don't do that. I think that, it would save
I will
lives.
say it is a good analogy what we're talking about now to kind of the U.S. gaming market right now, which is like there are some people that want to follow the rules and do things this way and say that's that, and there are other people that are like, there are no rules. We're going to do whatever we want and use whatever loopholes in the law or agencies that aren't going to enforce things to try to grow the pie.
I'm really interested to pick your brains on this, Jonathan. There's a couple of people I've been speaking to about these very things recently, and I'm fascinated to get your expert opinion on them. But John's in charge of the schedule, so I'm not gonna stray us away too much.
We are agents of chaos. I mean, what you've just alluded to there. Well, it could be any number of things. Let's be honest. It could be the ongoing fight against sweeps. It could be predictions markets. It could be all of those things and a few other things as well. So my take on sweeps, right? And this is my own personal opinion. I think every state in the US has missed the opportunity to just regulate. It's like instead of trying to go toe to toe, because if you're a sweeps operator and you're deemed to be illegal and you've got a bunch of players in a state, what are you going to do if they kick you out and say you can't operate here? You just go somewhere else and you just say to those players, oh no, unfortunately, those players are still accessing our site. Oh well, we're not in that state, so we don't actually have to worry about that. We'll just take the money, see you, bye.
To your point, I said that probably almost a year ago to a lot of people.
Well, I said it about 18 months ago.
Well, you're better than I am. You're smarter than I am, John.
I know, right?
But the whole thing here is the internet exists, and that's like saying, well, we should outlaw Amazon because Macy's is not doing so well. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Whereas sweepstakes, based off of the letter of the law, you're combining social casino, which is legal in most states, with sweepstakes prizing, which is legal in pretty much every state, and putting them together. Now you go a layer deeper, and the kind of the dual currency, 1-to-1 crypto to US dollars, and the always on sweepstakes don't necessarily match that. But at the end of the day, if you're a proponent of online casino, going to states and saying, look, this fits in with the laws, and you're leaving probably hundreds of millions of dollars in tax revenue on the table, what are you doing
And the
here?
rest.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
This is
the thing is,
what the stuff I was looking at about this. Just I think it's the 4 states now have blocked it. I think it was New York most recently. I think it was Louisiana recently before, or Virginia, and then a couple of other ones. Basically some of the more advanced regulated gaming markets. Ergo, they're protecting their very forward for motherships, which is sort of regulated state by state legislation, blah blah blah. And so no surprises. They're like, well, hang on a sec, we're not getting the same level of tax benefit over there as we are over there. So let's protect the highly regulated operators because they're the cash cow, and then block out these looky loo people that are doing the grey stuff over there. And I can understand that motivation, but then it still leaves 48 odd states who are in that middle ground, and of those, Christ, they've had nigh on 10 years now to get their regulated caps on and their act together, and they haven't done. And so really the lower hanging fruit for them would be take tax dollars off the likes of sweeps and potentially get the regulation house in order as well. And I don't really understand. I mean, it's kind of the loophole itself has confused me for years, because it's one of those ones like Social Casino. When Social Casino first came out, and I had Product Madness, their Heart of Vegas casino was a client of mine I did some brand work for. Amazing business. And when I started talking to them, I was like, okay, let me get this straight. It's on Facebook, and you play and you pay to get chips, but you can't cash out, and ergo that makes it legal everywhere in the world. Why the fuck would anyone do that? Why would you do it? If you want to gamble, properly, go to an unregulated operator. There's plenty of those operating in the States. If you want to gamble for fun, there's plenty of just mini clip style casino games you can play. Why would you pay? And they had to understand this. Like, they explained the psychology to me, and about game quality and the Vegas quality slots, and this is the closest you can get. These companies, this one, I think Product Madness was sold for 600 odd million, and I couldn't understand it. I was like, I would never have invented that idea because it's stupid, it's counterintuitive, and yet gangbusters. And the same with sweeps. It's like, that loophole is not going to be around for 2 minutes. What, you're using free prize draw methodology to allow a loophole to allow gaming prizes to be awarded as long as there's a free to play entry. My T's and C's brain would have kiboshed that in second one of Brainstorm 1, and yet there's now a multi-billion-dollar industry flooding behind it. And it's almost like you have to suspend disbelief and go, well, if it's doable, it's probably fine, and we'll worry about everything else later. That seems to be how it is.
It is like that, but I would also say, in the US, the entire gambling ecosystem was formed by people that didn't take no for an answer. So you look all the way back, 1980s, all the tribes and lawsuits to uphold tribal sovereignty and their right to allow for, at that point, high stakes bingo. You look at expansion in the Midwest in the US, riverboat casinos. Until like 2 years ago in one of the states, I think it was Illinois or Indiana, you actually had to have a working captain on the boat because it was a riverboat. And it's and some of these things work. You look at historical horse racing, which looks and feels like a slot machine. It's based off of different math. In tons of states that didn't ever have casinos, now you have that prop up. So the gambling industry in the U.S. and I can't even do this without mentioning FanDuel and DraftKings, the two biggest players in the online gaming space. They 1,000,000% created their own market and fought it to salvage it. They were going to merge. They were both on the verge of bankruptcy, that close, and then the PASPA decision happens, and look at where they are now. And it's just the story of this ecosystem where there's always going to be those that are trying to push the envelope, and sometimes people say those are good, and sometimes people say those aren't good.
Here's what I don't get, right? Sweeps casinos have been around for quite a while. In many probably it would surprise me if they weren't available in all 50 states, and I am including Utah and Hawaii in this conversation. So they've been around for absolutely ages, and we're talking about a shit ton of money that's gone through them. right? We're talking. It's being talked about like it's a brand new thing, and it's not. Sweeps casinos have been around for a really substantial amount of time. It's just now people are like, holy shit. My point is, like, sweeps casinos, as far as we know, thus far, have not cannibalized players from elsewhere. It's a different kind of player. It's a different customer. And so I don't understand, and I don't want you to piss off any former friends or colleagues, Jonathan. I don't get the AGA's stance on this at all, pointing at it saying that's illegal. Because you know what, sweeps. One sweeps operator in particular, I had a conversation with probably a year or so ago, and I said, what states are you looking at? And he said, well, all of the ones where it's legal. And I said, well, do you want to define legal for me? And he said, well, our payment providers do that. He said, if our payment providers say it's legal, then it's legal and we go. And I thought, well, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think this is a fascinating thing. It's like you track back the last 20 years, and there's so many examples of gaming, online gaming, migrating to different places, and it's not actually the legislation of the gaming that's in question. I mean, back in the day with UAGA, that was the banks and payment processors being told to shut up shop, and ergo business closed overnight because you haven't got payments, you haven't got a business. And I think some of the examples that, well, when PokerStars famously took the risk out or took the time out of payment back on winnings and just said, we'll take the risk. We're risking 5%, but we'll pay back in 5 minutes. Everyone else is 24 hours. That's what scooped up all the decent players. You know, all the big stars went to PokerStars because they get paid out within 5 minutes. And that was a maths decision based on we'll lose 5% in fraud, we'll gain 30% in market cap. That's a good idea. And I seem to remember talking to somebody in Costa Rica about this 20 years ago and their payments team over there. And I was like, who signed off on it? And it was like, literally, it was one meeting, it was one spreadsheet. And the CEO was like, yeah, prove it, run it, see what happens. Some of these decisions are clearly driven by the supporting elements, not about the gambling itself, and it's not about player protection, whatever else. It's normally motives come from elsewhere, and then the crux of it is simple stuff like getting money in or out. Because without money, none of this exists. You know, even social casino where you can't win, there's still money flowing in one side.
Correct. Yeah, and so as somebody who spent 7 years at the American Gaming Association, I mean, I could shed some light on kind of how they come about this. I mean, they're a consensus-driven organization, and you look at it, and effectively they said, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, we're going to say it's a duck, and go after this as saying it's illegal gaming. You know, it's interesting you point out the social casino part,
but they use the word illegal, which is bollocks.
Well, and again, you're trying to paint a picture, and the tribes are in line with them, and a number of the operators are, and even some of the suppliers. Like, to me,
all these people with vested interests.
At the end of the day, if you're saying sweepstakes is out, you should say social casino is out. Because at the end of the day, what is a sweepstakes casino? It's a social casino layered in with the sweepstakes prize. The product that they are promoting is a social casino product.
And of course, a lot of social casinos, a lot of the big ones, are still owned by gaming equipment manufacturers.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think product.
It's just a coincidence.
Aristocrat, wasn't it? Who are the other ones? The social casinos. There were 2 or 3.
Tika got bought. Double Down. Those folks.
Double Down. That was it.
Double Down was IGTs, wasn't it?
IGT. That's it. Yeah. And I love that. It was kind of the crazy days when this was the new golden child. Like all the mainstream operators are like, this is the next big thing. And I imagine like sweeps is not too far behind. But then again, there is this inherent concern about cannibalization. And John, to your point, if I haven't seen any data on this front, but you suggested there that there wasn't the perceived cannibalization. Well, that's pretty fascinating. So what you can open up new and interesting market slices with the same games, the same product, the same platform, just a different calculation over how the prizes get allocated to the wins. Everyone must be going nuts over that idea.
Jonathan, tell me if I'm wildly wrong about that. My gut says that a sweeps player is a very, very different market. Is there any? Does anybody know?
I mean, listen. As Mark Twain once said, statistics can be used to prove anything. So the data that I have seen, I would say you are accurate. It's a different player, and I think to Harry's point, well, why would anybody play social casino? The three of us are probably gamblers. We like that. But my mother just wants to sit there and play a slot and not care. And she's out of credits. Okay, I'll put $20 in and I get 10,000 points, and I can just sit there and play. And it's not I'm trying to win money. It's I'm trying to be entertained. And I just want to do this mindless behavior where I don't need to put $200 in a slot machine and, understand that I'm probably going to lose that money. So to me, it is a different player and different cohort and a different way to engage somebody that wants to do something like that. At the end of the day, though, there are people that, the state to really look at with the data is Michigan. So Michigan, I want to say this was the end of 23, sent out cease and desist letters to a number of sweeps operators. They're really the first to do that. And Michigan's largely been at the forefront of this as a whole. And you look at the online casino numbers, and there was no discernible impact on them when you ban sweepstakes. So, does that lead you to believe that they're different players? It would, but again, there's different data points that others would say too. It is cannibalizing the industry.
Yeah, I guess it'd be really interesting to see actual historical data from a sweeps operator and to compare that and to see if that had any appreciable impact on, like before this became contentious. Do you know what I mean? I think that could be, but I mean, we're never gonna fucking see that, are we? The Gambling Files podcast is brought to you by 3 kind, generous, benevolent, virile sponsors. In no particular order, they are Odds Matrix for all your sportsbook needs. And I do mean all. By Optimove, the iGaming industry's #1 CRM software supplier. I almost got that badly wrong and sort of said specialist, and there's a lot of ways that could have gone wrong, but it's them. They are wonderful. Book the demo, be wowed, be amazed, and if you follow the link in the show notes or tell them that you came via this podcast, you'll get a month for free, and we do promise you. With any sponsors of this podcast, we are bigging up products and companies that we believe are doing something pretty sexy. Speaking of pretty sexy, last but not least is premier industry event organizer Clarion Gaming. Ooh, suits you, sir. Organisers of the recently passed IGB Live, which just moved to London, and of course ICE in Barcelona. Oh, yes. Now, back to our podcast. Ooh. And welcome back to the Gambling Files podcast. I'm not sure if our technical issues would have shown up on this recording. I might even cut this out. Who knows? But Harry had some technical issues because
I live in the Cotswolds and I've got dial-up powered by pigeons. But ignoring that,
dude, I'm in Wales.
Oh, of course you are. You're
Give me that shit.
Via carrier pigeon itself.
No, via sheep.
Have you got fibre in Wales? Has Wales got fibre?
Well, we call it wool.
Of course you would. It's for internet provider and your lover.
Basically, yes. Coming from the mystical sheep. It's similar to the whole cow thing in Southern Asia. But we also use the wool instead of fibre optic cable.
Nice. Well, it seems to be working better than my hugely expensive EE internet. EE, while we're on a podcast, bastards. £35 a month for patchy internet. And Vodafone's no better. My mobile phone doesn't work in my house, doesn't work on the drive to my daughter's school, doesn't work at all at my daughter's school when I want to collect emails and have phone calls, and doesn't work in any villages locally. So I rang up Vodafone, which is headquartered in Newbury, which is 45 minutes south of where I live. And I said, I'm paying you 35 quid a month just for a SIM card for unlimited everything. But what I get is unlimited nothing. I get unlimited nothing phone calls, unlimited nothing internet. What are you going to do about it? Can you cash me out of my contract? And they said, this is after 2 hours of back and forward on phone calls. They said, no, you got a contract and it's down to you. I was like, surely it's not down to me when you guarantee a service. Anyway, I'll badmouth these people as long as I have breath in me.
But that's fair enough because they're in breach of contract, and because the thing is, they always say, and it's always couched in flowery language. But they're always like, oh yeah, you've got 100% coverage, or you've got near 100% coverage there. I'm like, dude, I live in South Shropshire. Even the sky doesn't have 100% fucking coverage in South Shropshire. So let's be a little bit more realistic about it, shall we? Do I need to be standing on the roof?
Yeah.
Facing east between 12 and 2:30? You know what I mean? And they look at their coverage map and they go, no, well, this says it's fine. Yeah, that's not showing you that it's next to a fucking gigantic hill and a forest.
Yeah, I think they should test it like in important places, like next to my fridge. Next to my fridge has no coverage whatsoever for anything. I think they should send in trucks there to like places where phones are used. Because I think what they do is they drive their trucks up and down motorways and they give themselves a bit of leeway, like 30 miles in each direction. And there's a child with a large format paintbrush and a map of the UK. And when they drive down a motorway, they get the paintbrush in green and go, right, paint down that motorway 30 miles each side. And once the child's finished painting, everything's green. And then that goes to the board and gets signed off. And they're like, yeah, we're basically fucking awesome. It's ultimate marking your own homework.
This just proves to me that they don't go to Shropshire because there is only one motorway in Shropshire and it's only in the north of the county. So you couldn't even do that in Shropshire. Yeah. Well, not in the south.
County. I would have thought more people would want to travel there. How come only one motorway? I think it would be a desirable place to go to.
Well, it is, but the lightweights that want motorways, they're only in the north. The ones that want ambulances and health services and that kind of crap.
All that rubbish. Yeah, who needs that with country air and sheep's wool?
Exactly. Ponces. But anyway, we were talking about we were talking about payment providers and with sweeps we're talking about something that is basically not illegal. Because otherwise it would just be stopped. It might not be preferential. It might not be what people want, how they want it, but that's not the same thing as illegal. Like, I would love to ban celery sales because who fucking eats celery? Any food. Should have known, you fucking middle class.
Come on. The only reason for celery is to stir in a Bloody Mary. That's it.
No, also a valid point, Jonathan, but there's celery and then celery salt, and you'll love this, John. You'll absolutely fucking love this. This is a play to your leftist credentials. I had some celery salt last weekend because I went to a picnic and my friends doled up. Actually, it was a lunch, not a picnic, outside their lovely house in the Cotswolds. It's a bit of a nibble starter. We had celery salt to go with the quail's eggs because that's what we had as a starter. God, they were good. Celery salt, quail's eggs, lovely.
Fucking hell. Thing is, though, right? Celery. Any food that people have to justify eating by saying, oh, well, it burns more calories than you ingest when you eat celery. That's not an advert for a food.
Blankers say that. They're missing the point entirely. Celery, there's a few vegetables, they're basically a carrying device, right? Celery is a giant spade of a vegetable. Have you seen how much cream cheese you can get on the end of a spade of celery? It's a shitload. Then you can sort of dunk it in other things. You can cover it in any sort of cheeses. It's lovely.
So I think I probably said this on this podcast before. You know how something like 95% of the world's almonds are grown in California, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like serious. There's a region, and it's a serious monoculture. And it's one of the reasons why California is in a constant state of drought. So and that's the case. But celery only grows in one place, and not a lot of people know this. It grows around the devil's arsehole.
Southampton.
You're thinking of Plymouth.
Ah, yeah. Well, I'm thinking of that conglomerate that is the Plymouth Southampton conurbation. But yeah. So where is the devil's arsehole?
Oh, it's between the devil's butt cheeks.
Right. So
I'm talking about celery actually grows on the actual devil's actual arsehole.
Oh, right. So it's not a sort of geographical metaphor. I thought you were going to
No.
give me a really good fact of the day.
No, it was bad British humor. That's what it was. That's
Ah.
You wouldn't understand my working class jokes. You're fucking choking on a quail's egg.
Classes on me. Just because I went to Harrow, you have to bring out the big classes.
Holy shit! I didn't know you went to Harrow. Oh my god, you're taller. Do you row? Did you row at Harrow?
No, dude. No, that's the other one. No, Harrow was on a massive clay-like hill in North London. There's no water for miles. Eton's the one that built a rowing lake for 40 million.
But that doesn't mean you don't row.
Well, it doesn't, but I mean, it would have been quite hard to row.
Is Harrow a big rugby school?
Big rugby, big for Harrow football, which was a game no other school in the world plays. Because of the clay-like substrata on the playing fields, they invented a game with a giant ball, twice as big as a football, with flat-sized, made out of pig's leather, and you hack it back and forward towards two upright posts, and when you get close to the post, wallowing in mud as you would be, you turn around and you try and kick the ball to one of your players behind you, and if he catches it, he shouts yards. The entire game stops. The referee puts a stick on the floor, and you have to try and kick this flat-sided, pigskin, heavy as fuck ball through the posts, and some amount of points get awarded. It is the stupidest fucking game. Now, Eton's got the wall game, in which no one can win, so that's pretty fucking stupid. But at least you stay dry and you don't get hypothermia. Harrow, you break your neck heading this thing, you break your ankles kicking it, and you get hypothermia. So if anyone ever says that you buy a good education at these places, no one's particularly bright.
Jonathan, I know all of that sounds made up.
100% true.
But it's not. English public schools are exactly like this. And the people that go to them inevitably end up running the country.
This explains a lot, though.
It should explain an awful lot, actually. Although, to give it credit, Eton's had about 5 times as many prime ministers as Harrow, because Harrow kids tend to be landed gentry and quite thick. Etonians somehow maintain some sort of narcissistic brain power and get through to government ships.
But, so your posse just end up in the House of Lords?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Sucks to be you.
Quite a few Saudi princes in there, I think. So they're quite well off, obviously. And we had Churchill. You know, he did a few bits and pieces. I mean,
well, yeah, and he got 2 terms. So does he count as 2?
No. Oh no. Well, I bet the school counts as 2. And then you got James Blunt. So you got James Blunt and a wartime prime minister who was a horrible racist. That's pretty much the CV. There's not much beyond there.
So anyway, Jonathan, about this American gaming thing. I went to a shitty school. We mentioned before we started recording about, because I know you were I know you did the AGA for, as you said earlier, about 7 years, but you've got experience of significant experience working with payment operations and the like. And it did come up earlier. Harry mentioned it with PokerStars, with the 5-minute thing. And it's whenever you go into forums, the big bugbears for players are almost always withdrawal related. But to be fair, I mean, it's the same with like getting a refund from a shop. It's like the money goes out real fast. The money could take 5 days to come back. Now, in your opinion, as a consultant, as somebody who's got serious expertise in this, is the industry doing anything wrong in terms of payments? Is there anything that could be done to streamline this, make it sexier, make the customer experience way better? Or is the reason for the frictions that exist to do with fraud prevention? Or am I just missing things
No,
entirely?
no. So what I've told people is that here in the US, we're in phase 3 of payments in gaming. Phase 1 was, oh crap, how do we get money in? So that started in 2013 with New Jersey when they launched online casino, really accelerated in 2018 after the PASPA decision. Largely solved that. 9 of the top 10 US banks accept gaming transactions, all's good. You can get money in quickly. Phase 2 was withdrawals. Okay, well, now we got money in quickly, and everyone's pissing and moaning at us because it takes 5 days and somebody has to send me a physical check. This is ridiculous. How do we accelerate that? So you've seen certainly the larger operators, FanDuel, DraftKings, implement a variety of withdrawal methods that allow people to get money back a lot faster. So it's generally, it's not 5 minutes like PokerStars would do it, but we'll call it an hour or so is where it becomes. Now you're in phase 3, which is part of the problem now is it's very easy to get money in and out quickly. So customers do that a lot, which drives up payment costs dramatically. So you look at an average e-commerce business and their cost of payments is around 3%. The best operators in the US gaming industry are probably more than double that. I think, FanDuel during their earnings last year said 7% of their expense was on payments. So how do you give customers what they want, which is they want their money quickly, they want it immediately as possible, but how do you make sure that you're not essentially giving them the opportunity to say, well, John, you want £100 on the Wrexham match, I'm going to give that to you immediately, and you go, well, hell, but now I want to put it on the afternoon matches. So you put that £100 right back into your account, and you're essentially taking the same money and withdrawing it, reddepositing it, withdrawing it, redepositing it, which you're paying the same amount to acquire it. So is there a way to reduce what we would call churn in that? I think that's where a lot of this is going to go. How do you give people instant access to their money, but not as fungible, as we'll call it, where they're able to just do this process again and again and again and just drive your costs through the roof?
I mean, this is the bit where it gets really interesting for me because you get to a crux on what's physically possible. And Jonathan, like you say, it's great for a customer because now it's instant in, instant out, customer happy, operator miserable, operator probably much happier when it was instant in, 5 days out. So, oh no, customers, we're so sorry, but our hands are tied by these bastard banks. Oh, this is awful. Whilst we're earning interest on your winnings, which are still under account. So they've kind of gone full circle into customer-driven behaviours, which are actually detrimental commercially. And so I think there's a mother of invention element here of, well, what would induce someone to keep their money in longer or keep it in? Like, can you gamify that process? Can you pay interest on deposits that are held in account? And the other thing I was thinking about was, you limiting withdrawals, like maximum X number of withdrawals per week. Otherwise, you start paying a fee. But that's bad user experience because not everyone will do it. You'll just move to the next operator who doesn't do it. But I think it'd be interesting to try and gamify elements of that payment monies in and out process. Because what you've got, number one, not everyone's winning. In fact, if memory serves from my casino days, quite a few people, percentage-wise, are just losing. So, how many people are actually bringing money in and out? There's a small proportion of people who are winning any given day. In sports betting, it's under 1% who are your sharp action. And this is taking me all the way back to my Pinnacle days. That percentage was tiny and they were reliably winning. And most operators kick them out before they get to that stage anyway. So it isn't actually a universal problem paying winners because most people don't win. For those who do and are causing you problems, I think that because they're likely going to be high spenders, i.e. high net value customers, it's probably worth investing or over-investing in their behaviors to try and keep money in the bank. You could probably afford to pay them interest on their monies deposited, even if it's not real interest, it's suggested interest or it's enhanced odds, or you find a way to gamify it. Maybe it's a double or quits mechanic on the way out. It's like, hey, we'll do a coin flip for today's win. I don't even know if that's legal. But that's quite a nice idea. But I think there's ways you could probably look at it contextually, and it probably isn't an everyone problem. It's probably just one that is annoying because 7% for FanDuel sounds like a shocking figure considering how expensive UA is, how expensive operational work is. 7% thrown down the floor when it's not a tax bill sounds unsustainable to me.
Yeah, I think it's one of the reasons you see crypto casinos being so popular and successful is because you can do that bi-directional stuff. Now, going back to gray, certainly gray or black in some cases, how they're operating. But I think a lot of these operators are going to look at crypto and say, what could we do there? Like stable coins, as an example, now that they're going to actually be regulated by the US federal government. Okay, are there ways we could just accept this and we can tell MasterCard and Visa to piss off so we don't have to pay that interchange, and it's a much lower cost of transaction. And even if we want to keep stable coins on our balance sheet or not, certainly you see a lot of the big banks in the US going that direction. I think that's going to be a really interesting and actually a use case where you can use crypto for something other than, okay, it's up to Bitcoin's up to 120,000. Cool. It's a speculative asset class. How do you actually use it for commerce? Is probably the next evolution of that. But it's to your point around VIPs, if you look at the US, and I'll be honest, I was shocked at how quickly same game parlays took off. I mean, the parlay has always been around, your ACCAs in your vernacular. I mean, the hold percentage went from 5% pre-PASPA to, you're seeing the big operators say it's 12 or 13% holds on their wagers. So what you have is you're essentially allowing people to buy lottery tickets. So cool. Instead of bet $5 to win $5, you bet $5 to win 100. Cool. I'm going to take a bunch out off the table if I win one of those, and then I just put it right back in. So some of it is the lottery ticket behavior that's also shifted in the U.S. market.
Yeah. Almost brings us. Well, are we full circle back to Wrexham again?
No.
No.
One of the things that's been in the news lately is I think it's part of the absurdly named bill recently, and it's about tax on US bettors. Now, I hope I'm misunderstanding the situation, but it does sound like one of the dumbest things I've ever read. It's like reading a story about somebody who went out on a cold night and instead of taking a jacket, they took some lighter fuel and some matches and set themselves on fire to get warm.
It sounds like the football game that Harry played in his school days.
Also that.
Nothing's as fucking stupid as that game. But
I don't know.
No, having followed Caroline Leavitt's press conferences with interest for the last few months, I now think that stupidity has a new low bar, and it's stratospherically below our feet. So, I mean, I'm interested to hear about this new tax levy because I haven't read up about it.
Effectively, you would previously be able to deduct your losses from your winnings. So let's just say you won $10,000 and you lost $10,000, you net that out at zero. What the new bill says is you have to pay taxes up to, you can only deduct up to 9,000 of that. So you have to pay a tax of whatever your tax rate is on that $1,000. So you're paying out of pocket to be able to do that. Listen, it's when you have people in states that don't have gaming, like the individual that put this in the bill is from Idaho. Idaho has no legal gaming. Seems like a way to get a couple bucks. So what they said was, if we do this, it can increase our tax revenues by $1.1 billion, which in the grand scheme of things, $1.1 billion to the U.S. government is like me picking up this penny over here and it being like cut into 8 pieces. It's nothing. It makes no lick of difference. But when you need to find things that sound good on paper and look good, where you're actually finding ways to pay for some of these massive tax cuts, it's there. The question though is, are they going to be able to repeal it? And it's very difficult to move it into the U.S. Congress, and we'll see.
It's just such a
Extraordinary.
bizarre idea.
Yeah. It's like UAGA going on that unlawful terrorism act because it was done late at night and nobody was there. I remember reading that story the next day and hearing how it happened, going, how's that possibly legal? You pretend something else is happening, so it's like a fake pass on a football field, but you chuck in something else which is hugely impactful to multiple industries, and you've tricked everyone. You've lied, and it's tricked through. And this sounds like the same. It's like you chuck in a
Well,
bill, but then you make it
it's
impossible to
politics.
rescind.
It's
Well,
politics.
yeah,
That's. I mean, you
yeah.
look at what happened in Illinois around this latest tax increase, and it was the same thing. The tax increase was baked for months. They just didn't tell anybody about it, and then threw it in a bill at the last minute and said, "Have fun, guys. Deal with it."
You know you're dealing with a popular policy when you have to literally hide it and throw it under the carpet like a bit of moldy bread. It's like, guys, it's fine. Yeah, I'm sure this is going to go down well with lots and lots of people. We just won't tell anyone about it, and we'll pretend it's not happening until it's too late. I mean, it just reeks of probably a very bad idea for somebody somewhere, apart from obviously the government and their cronies in other industries, which of course it's very good for.
But I think that there's been mistakes made in the regulations for many states. I think allowing operators to offset their marketing costs or their player acquisition costs against their tax, I think it's madness personally, because any creative accountant will get you down to paying next to nothing in taxes in that state.
Well, yeah, because
Which
everything contributes to UA. Everything is part of your UA
absolutely.
if you look at it hard enough.
But that means that gambling is the villain again because it was legalized because we thought we'd get all these tax dollars, and that hasn't materialized. Well, the reason it hasn't materialized is the operators following the regulations to the letter and pushing them as far as they can. So the problem is with the regulations, but the kickback from that is Illinois and other places that are looking at raising their taxes. That's the pushback. That's the pushback. When you get I can't remember geographically how this works, but was it Kansas City had a team in the Super Bowl a couple of years in a row, and but the city is partly in one state and partly in the other state. Is that right?
There's two different cities. There's a Kansas City, Missouri, which is the larger city. That's where both the Chiefs and the Kansas City Royals, the baseball team, play. And then there's Kansas City, Kansas, which is much smaller, but in the state of Kansas.
Oh man, that is quite complicated. But I
So
remember
they do things differently there.
But I remember one of those states raised, it was something like less than $1,000 in tax on a
Kansas, there was I forget which publication. I want to say Wall Street Journal because it feels that way. They ran a story about, I mean, how it was one, I read it as it was a great job lobbying by the operators. But the challenge is the flip side now, where you have these politicians that are like, what the hell, guys? Like, you wanted all these things, and we're not getting our end of the bargain. And on top of that, like, you tell me it's a 5% business and it's a 13% business. And then you're paying 51% tax in New York that you applied for. So tell me why I shouldn't raise your taxes. And they don't have a great argument to push back on.
They really don't.
If you and the quick expansion of U.S. sports betting has really fueled that, where you don't have this is what the sound policy is. Instead, it's just this jumble of stuff. And if you ask me what a reasonable tax rate and marketing structure would be, John, and Harry, I would say it's probably a 20% tax, and you can only deduct, let's call it 25% of your marketing expenses as opposed to unlimited caps and taxes all over the place. Make it a fair and reasonable thing for everybody, and let's go about our business.
Couldn't agree more, because then you don't have this thing where the industry is the villain again. And we fucking did that. Like, we could have said, do you know what? Yeah, it's great. We could do this. We appreciate what you're saying in the regulation there, but let's think about what this means down the line. Because we can say that. We can have those conversations as an industry. We can say, but actually, you're not going to raise your tax revenues this way. You know, I mean, can you imagine how much shit the industry is going to get when the Bally's Casino is finished and running in Chicago, and if they manage to creatively what?
They're not going to build it. They don't have the money.
They've never had the money, but that hasn't stopped them spending ever. They're still speculating. They're still out there. It's nuts. And they're still going to be playing. They're still going to be paying the REIT for the fucking Tropicana site that they're not going to develop on. I thought they must have a board, but the board seems to be sucking the owners.
I actually had after the Star acquisition, which they might walk away from. I texted an analyst friend and I was like, "What are they doing?" And he was like, "I finally got this when I saw Soo Kim speak at Next, and he's just a distressed investor. He does not care about debt, so he's willing to just lever up to the hilt to try to grow the business."
Right, so try and buy a little bit of profit here, a little bit of profit there. Thing is, if you split that business apart, you'd have loads of healthy small businesses.
Well, and they just sold their digital business, right, to Intralot?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. I don't know. But anyway, right. Say that gets built and is all running nicely and they creatively account their way out of any taxes. One of the main drivers for getting that casino in Chicago was the fucking gigantic hole in the city's pension fund, in the city's police pension fund. Like, can you imagine the kind of shit they'll get if they're trying to count their way out of taxes? Again,
it at least appears on face that they don't try to play those games as much. I mean, I think the implicit bargain. I know you're loud, but like, so I live in the state of Maryland. High tax rate. The operators, I think it's north of 50% on slots. It's a little lower for table games because of the labor, but you know, they love to say this is how much money we put into the state coffers every year, and that's what they do. Now, doesn't stop the politicians from putting their hands and grabbing it. So in Maryland, we passed casinos only within the last 15 years or so, and the money was exclusively to go towards education.
Mm-hmm.
We had to pass a bill a couple of years ago to make sure that was the case and put the funds in a lockbox that politicians couldn't put their hand into. So
cool.
It's not as if politicians don't also bear some burden in this.
No, that's very fair. And it is lovely to hear of a state that is saying, hey, let's put this towards education. Which reminds me, I was reading something somebody did about...
That worries me a tiny bit, though. That sounds like common sense in the States, which I assume means it's going to get barred fairly soon.
But when Jonathan says education, what I assume he means is it's going to be invested into shooting ranges and things like that.
In this state, no.
Are you not in America?
I'm in blue America. We'll call it that.
Okay. Harry, that just means it's colder.
Nothing's as cold as a Republican's heart at the moment.
Listen, I think it feels like 100 degrees yesterday. It'll feel like that again. If that's cold, I don't want to move to Las Vegas.
Okay, yeah, we're having heat waves over here, and it's not the kind of weather.
Pretty British heat waves, Jonathan. For the record, our heat waves are when we have to undo the top button and loosen a tie. It's not like Vegas style 40-degree cook omelets on the pavement.
In Harry's case, it's a bow tie that he has to loosen. But it's different, Harry. You know it's different because we have much higher humidity than Las Vegas. When you hit 40 degrees in the desert, your sweat evaporates the way it's supposed to, and your skin cools, and it doesn't feel nearly as hot.
No, you die. That's what happens.
Well, yeah, eventually, yes. In the UK, if you sweat, what that just makes happen is it just makes more sweat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's that amazing humidity we love.
If it's too hot, then the ice in your Pimm's melts, which is about as bad a thing as death.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, it must suck. It must suck to be you.
It's awful.
So, listen, gentlemen, I need to wrap this up because there's a new Jason Statham movie has landed on Netflix, and it requires me to watch it.
Are you
It's not
his
new, is
stunt
it, though, John?
I don't know which one to answer first. Sorry. Am I a
We'll
stunt
guess
double?
one
Well,
thing first.
I do have a similar physique and the same amount of talent. Harry, what was your question?
No, I was just going to point out the semantics of it. I'm pretty sure it's not a new Jason Statham because if it's the home front
No,
that I've
it's not.
seen,
It's not.
no. So Netflix are recycling some
Yes.
vintage Statham. Let's go with vintage because it's not a bad
Yeah.
one.
No, it is home front, and I'm excited to watch some wrongs being righted. But we were talking a little before we started recording, and you were dissing Jason Statham, I believe, Harry.
I would be very careful because I wouldn't like Jason Statham, who occasionally flies over the Cotswolds in his chopper to go for a swim at Soho Farmhouse, by all accounts. So I wouldn't want to diss him in case he lands in my piddlily small garden and beats me up. But I think he's worked out the secret sauce for action movies, and I think he's incredibly lucky that the secret sauce is quite well built, bald British men with a nice physique who speak in a monotone and can do a particular type of scissor kick. That's the secret sauce for a hit movie, and he's got it fucking nailed. So I just don't think he's going to be troubling the Oscars anytime soon. But then I don't equally think him and his supermodel wife are that bothered about that news coming from me.
But you see, when we were before we started recording, you were also bringing other actors into the diss, which I believe
Here's the problem,
included
isn't it? Here's the
Michael
crux of it.
Caine.
It did,
Was it
but
Michael
nobody would
Caine,
have
and was there
known
anybody else?
at all. Yeah, no, I think I was equating it to Michael Caine and who else is the same actor in every film? God, there's so many of them.
The Rock.
Who was the other one? Can you remember?
The Rock,
Oh, The Rock.
Jonathan's
Yes.
nailed it. The Rock,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Although The Rock has actually got range. I'll remove The Rock because I've seen him do slightly different stuff whilst being this oddly shaped humanoid. Michael
Well,
Caine
and his
just
new
got
movie looks
down to an
terrific.
Who? Caines or The Rock's?
The Rock.
What's his new one? Is it quite similar to his
Oh,
last 40 film?
no, not at all. It's a biography of a mixed martial artist, but a guy from 30 odd years ago.
Oh yes, I think I saw the trailer for that. Yeah, I mean it looks slightly. It's his version of doing an Oscar clip performance, except it's not. It's not my left
Exactly.
foot, is it? It's my left bicep. That's my right bicep for fact fans. So anyway, I don't want to piss on anyone's chips. Michael Caine, national treasure, speaks in the same voice in every film he's ever bloody been in. Like do.
Except that's not true.
Damn.
That's
Go
not
on.
true.
Astound me with your fact bombs, John.
Okay, right. Michael Caine has won an Oscar, has he not?
I don't know, but probably because they hand them
He-
out to all sorts.
No, he has won an Oscar, and it was in a movie in which he did not talk in the same voice that he uses in everything else. He won an Oscar for The Cider House Rules, in which he does an absolute mangling of a Maine accent, if I remember correctly.
All right. So this is your defense.
Just saying.
Interesting.
Well, no, see, like I said earlier, right? Jason Statham makes Jason Statham movies, and he's in other movies in which he's generally pretty good. He's very watchable. He's quite a charismatic guy. But he's not without talent. It's just that when he makes a Jason Statham movie, it's a different thing. But if you look at the body of Michael Caine's work, he's been in some outstanding films. I'm not saying that he's been outstanding in them, but he's been in a very large number of really excellent films. Now, it could be a coincidence. A stop clock is right twice a day. But I think he's done it too many times for it to be a coincidence.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like in the same way Prince William spends time in some quite beautiful houses. Like, I think, Michael Caine gets invited into quite beautiful films because he's Michael Caine. He doesn't necessarily belong in them or hasn't earned his way into them. He was the butler in Batman, Christopher Nolan film, very good. But he was basically Michael Caine doing a Michael Caine accent, and they reverse part to scripts for him into a butler role.
But there were movies that he was in before he was Michael Caine.
Alfie, same accent, same voice.
Yeah,
Italian
but he
job,
wasn't Michael
same
Caine
accent.
then. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well,
He wasn't in those movies, but he wasn't in those movies because he was Michael Caine. He was in those movies because he was the right person for the role. I see what you're saying. I'm just not sure I agree. And his finest film, and in fact, the movie that he himself has described as the one movie that will live on after I'm gone. No, would you believe? I would have guessed that as well. That was fabulous. No, it's second best film he's ever been in. The Man Who Would Be King. Which Kipling's probably a former Harrow boy, isn't he? Probably fucking Eton, isn't he? Well, there's a lot of dissing going on there, Harry, and we like positivity on this podcast. Very. Jonathan Michaels, thank you very, very much for joining us. Sorry for the non-gambling related chat. Thank you for humouring us and bringing your brilliance. I would very much like you to come back on in the future because I'd really like you to meet Finton. I think he'd have a whale of a time with you.
Yeah, so Finton and I crossed paths many years ago. So hopefully when he returns, or if he returns from Australia, because apparently a lot of you Brits go down there and say, I'm never leaving this place because they have sunshine year round.
Yeah,
Couldn't say it plainly.
I hear you. I'm looking out at a very overcast Wales today. But, it's God's country. What can I say?
Well, thank you for having me, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
If you've enjoyed this episode of the Gambling Files podcast, please find us on LinkedIn. Give us a big, juicy, succulent like. That nearly went wrong. You can find us under the name The Gambling Files Podcast. You can find us on Twitter under The Gambling Files. I think the handle is just @GamblingFiles. You can connect to myself, Jon Bruford, or Finton Costello, also on LinkedIn. We're also both on Twitter. And you can find all of our previous episodes at www.thegamblingfiles.com. If you enjoyed it, please share, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your colleagues, and we'll see you next time.